The chair is calling this December 14th, 2023 regular meeting of McLean County Board to order. We will start with the invocation by Member Erickson.
Dear Heavenly Father,
Pledge of Allegiance. I will ask our county clerk, Kathy Michael, to do the roll call, please.
Chuck Erickson.
here,
Here.
William John Friedrich.
Here.
Eric Hansen.
Here.
Elizabeth Johnston.
Here.
Randall Knapp. Val Lehman.
Present.
Adam Reeves.
Here.
Jim Rogow. Natalie Roseman Mendoza.
Here.
Susan Schaefer.
Here.
James Soldner.
Here.
Jeff Tompkins.
Here.
George Wendt. Crystal Abel.
Here.
Jack Abraham.
Here.
Corey Byrne.
Present.
Beverly Bell. Lindsay Bloomfield. Leah Klein.
Present.
Catherine Metzger.
Present. We have 20 members present. We have a quorum, so we may conduct business this evening. We are moving to number 5, and that's appearances by members of the public and county employees in reference to an agenda item. Want to remind everyone that those individuals who signed up in advance will be given 3 minutes. We have a total of 15 minutes to conduct number 5, the appearances of the public on these agenda items.
Madam Chair, can I make a motion to extend the time of the people to speak?
Yes, you may, but I need a second to that motion. I have a second by Crystal Abel. All in favor of extending the limit of 15 minutes to just 3 minutes per person, say aye. Opposed? That motion passes. So we have 9 individuals who would like to speak. They will each be given 3 minutes. We will not extend that 3 minutes. So we will begin with Don Dannenbring. Before you start, I would like to read something so everyone is aware. Before we begin public comment, it is my understanding that some of you are here to discuss an action item regarding carbon dioxide sequestration drilling amendment and the application of One Earth Sequestration LLC for 3 carbon dioxide sequestration drilling wells. Both of these matters went through our Zoning Board of Appeals and had public hearings. The McLean County Board cannot consider any public comment heard on these matters tonight because the comments are not a part of the Zoning Board of Appeals record. We greatly appreciate your engagement, and the public made significant contributions to the Zoning Board of Appeals hearings. You are welcome to still make your comments tonight with the understanding that the board will not be able to take them into consideration when we deliberate and render the decision on these matters this evening. Dawn, you can take the podium and the microphone should be up. There is a timer that will begin when you begin, and you can watch it on the monitors.
Where's the monitor? Oh, I see. Okay. Thank you for the opportunity to make public comment. I respectfully request that you deny One Earth's application for a special use permit on the grounds that it doesn't satisfy the county's own special use permitting criteria on safety. Saying the project will be safe doesn't make it safe. One Earth repeatedly said that those against the project were fear-mongering, but their response to that was just to say over and over it would be safe or to cherry-pick facts that they would share. A member of One Earth's team promised the injected CO2 would stay injected forever, where they put it, but nobody can guarantee that. The only company in the United States to be granted a Class 6 well permit from the EPA is ADM in Decatur, and its CO2 has already breached its projected area multiple times, both horizontally and vertically. Underground CO2 is buoyant. It seeks to move upward. When it hits a layer of solid rock, it moves out laterally until it finds a crack or an abandoned well or another pathway to move upward. One Earth portrayed the rock layer as impermeable and as though it was just one big rock. This isn't the case, and an ISU professor testified to this. The rock layer that is intended to protect CO2 from getting into the recharge area of the Mahomet Aquifer isn't parallel to the ground, it's at a slant, and it isn't a single rock, it is made up of many rocks. And there are seams in those rocks. That's how natural gas stored in those same underground formations has made its way to the eastern Mahomet, and people whose wells were contaminated still don't have safe drinking water 6 years later. There are 2 schools with 1,083 children in an evacuation zone, but One Earth hasn't prepared an evacuation plan for them. CO2 isn't asphyxiant. At ground level, it displaces oxygen. It happens fast. Residents at the proposed 1,500-foot setback would have less than 10 minutes if there was an accident to evacuate. 10 minutes. And that's if they know there is an accident. But at the last ZBA meeting, One Earth still didn't have a plan for notifying residents. So how could that possibly be seen as meeting the safety standards of the county? In summary, One Earth can't guarantee the safety of our drinking water. They haven't guaranteed the safety of residents and school children. They haven't received a permit from the federal EPA, which should be a mandatory prerequisite for even asking for a special use permit. They aren't ready. The county isn't ready. Please deny One Earth's request for a permit. Thank you.
The next individual who requested to speak was Marilee White. Ms. White.
CO2 pipelines and sequestration are not the answer to climate change. They are not a good solution for CO2 disposal. They are a way to help private, for-profit, CO2 producing industries get rid of their industrial waste at taxpayer expense. The process takes more energy than it saves to date. To date, CO2 wells have increased carbon and air pollution. ADM in Decatur had to build a 100 megawatt electric substation to power their pilot CCS process, meaning they are using CO2-produced fossil fuels to capture other fossil fuels. It doesn't make sense. The main ones to make money from this program would be One Earth. The county could make money too if county people decide to accept what's been offered. Huge amounts, I'm told, but at what price? At what price for human suffering and health and safety? How can you put a price on those things? Another concern is that if we build a CO2 sequestration and wells process, we will become a dumping ground for the whole Midwest. We will be the suckers that other states turn to. We do not need these wells. We do not want them. The economics of CO2 sequestration only work with massive transfers of public taxpayer money to for-profit corporations. Over $1 billion in taxpayer money has also already been wasted in Illinois on a failed CO2 capture and storage project, FutureGen. CO2 sequestration and storage, and let's face it, you can't have one without the other, pose a major danger to the safety of our drinking water should there be a leak. and there will be a leak. Maybe not in my lifetime, but there will be leaks. Human lives could be lost. There are 3 watersheds that, from Earth One's proposal, One Earth's proposal, that feed into the Mahama Aquifer. The Mahama Aquifer supplies water for 850,000 people, including the entire town of Normal, including ISU and a lot of little towns around here. And I'm one of them because I live in Normal, so I have a vested interest in this. Their proposal clearly does not meet the board's criteria that it will not impact the health and well-being of the people of McLean County. CO2 is odorless, invisible, and deadly. When released, it displaces breathable oxygen. In an accident in 2020 in Satartia, Mississippi, a town of 50 people, they had to evacuate 200 people and sent 45 people to the hospital. But the emergency vehicles don't run because emergency vehicles, unless they're run by electricity, do not run. The way to produce CO2 pollution, to reduce it, is not to produce it in the first place.
Ms. White, thank you so much. Your 3 minutes is up. Thank you. The next individual who requested is Marty Siegel.
Hi, I'm Marty Seigel. I went to 3 meetings, and I do not understand why the McLean County Board of Zoning Appeals voted to accept the petition of One Earth Energy to drill sequestration wells in McLean County. I heard convincing testimony from opponents that the wells may not be safe. It was disturbing to hear their testimony dismissed by proponents who said that opponents could not prove that the wells would be safe. This is wrong. One Earth Energy should be able to prove that the wells will be safe. But it certainly cannot do that because it does not have the endorsement of the accepted authority of sequestration wells, which is the Environmental Protection Agency. Since the sequestration process is relatively new and the evidence supporting it has not yet been established, the county board should not issue One Earth Energy a permit before the EPA has determined the safety of the project. The hearings did not answer basic questions. If there's a leak from a well, how and when would it be identified? The company promises frequent water testing, but how much damage can occur before the testing reveals a leak? The company also promises to develop emergency response plans with communities located near the wells. It's hard to imagine what these remedies can be. One Earth Energy admits there's no way to control the movement of CO2 once it's been injected into the earth. It admits the controls are limited to reducing the injection pressure and to stopping the injections. Please reject this permit application and require One Earth Energy to obtain the endorsement of the EPA before bringing the matter back to the McLean County Board. Thank you.
The next individual that requested to speak was William Rao.
Madam Chair and fellow board members, it is my belief that the Zoning Board of Appeals, while outside of its charge to protect the health, welfare, safety, and property of McLean County residents with respect to carbon capture and sequestration due to 3 factors. 1, a ZBA staff decision to block powerful evidence we intended to present. 2, disputable application of an opinion that the county has no say over sequestration pipelines. 3, the $29 million one company offered to the county. Factor 1, Illinois People's Action intended to show a video of a test CO2 pipeline rupture by DNV, a Norwegian risk management company. but ZBA staff denied the request with this rule: documents obtained from the internet or elsewhere are generally not admissible. This mutable rule means staff can block evidence they don't want the ZBA to see. Staff also deemed it a, quote, fake video, end quote, even though DVN's website has photos posted on it. I gave you this video link. It's short. I hope you have a chance to view it. And then ask, would you live near a CO2 pipeline? Before my testimony, ZBA's chair declared there would be no more presentations on pipelines. I was therefore forced to discard my written testimony, but I was able to verbally introduce a key issue concerning Factor 2. The ZBA ignored pipelines because they believe the county has no regulatory authority over them. Thus, they ignored testimony on pipeline issues related directly to sequestration wells. Per Figure 1, pipelines connect right at the top of a sequestration well. Just as a bird cannot fly without wings, a sequestration well cannot inject CO2 without a pipeline. And pipelines connect to wells in the same manner that wings connect to birds. What's important? Pipelines can rupture at the wellhead, which you regulate. Therefore, the Satartia, Mississippi pipeline rupture is crucial. As Figure 2 shows, this pipeline was 6,600 feet away from Satartia and led to 300 evacuations, 49 emergency room treatments, and permanent respiratory damage for some. The ZBA's 1,500-foot setback would have been useless. Our population is 6 times larger than Satartia's Yazoo County, so we have much more risk during a major CO2 accident. If we want that $25 million, let's pray for good fortune, because that money will turn into a down payment to settle a class action lawsuit should there be mass injuries or casualties. Thank you for your time.
Our next speaker is Julie Prandy.
Good evening, and thank you for this opportunity. You should not grant a special use permit to One Earth for carbon sequestration wells because these wells will not satisfy the requirements the ZBA itself set up for the permit, that the project must not put health and safety of people in this county in jeopardy. As the Institute for Energy Economics and Analysis reports, and I quote, once CO2 is injected into the ground, it is effectively on its own. All engineers can do to regulate how much volume of CO2 is injected at a certain pressure. They can monitor the pressure, but they can't fix the leaks in the rock. They cannot dictate where the CO2 will move. They cannot stop it from leaking once it starts, unquote. So what are the problems that leaks cause? Well, let's look at what we know about sudden leaks as well as gradual leaks from CO2 from the site of sequestration wells or from underground storage areas. According to a report from the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, leakage at the site of underground storage is a possibility. If a sudden leak of CO2 were to happen at an injection site, it could put the health of surrounding people and animals at risk. So, and what about gradual leaks? Gradual leaks may be harder to detect, let alone mitigate, and they can also cause serious damage. A gradual leak from fractures in the rock or from injection wells has the potential to contaminate both soil and groundwater in the area surrounding the storage site. Well, why does this matter, and how does this endanger cropland and human health? The same report from the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change goes on to say, and I quote, acidification of groundwater can kill plants or subsoil animals and increase concentration of metals in the drinking water. Let me repeat that. Acidification of groundwater can kill plants or subsoil animals and increase concentration of metals in drinking water. Therefore, we do not want to risk damaging cropland or contaminating the Mohammed Aquifer. I hope you will consider these threats and put thumbs down to One Earth's application for CO2 sequestration wells in our county. Thank you.
Our next speaker will be Jacqueline Beyer.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Jackie Beyer. Public comment is an opportunity for the public to express viewpoints to the officials that have been elected to represent them. At the November County Board meeting, when the levy was approved, Member Klein stated there had been 14 meetings regarding the budget prior to that November meeting. The comment was dismissive to the public commenters and sent a message that our comments about the levy were too late, didn't matter at that point, that the public should have spoken up sooner. But how can people effectively participate in public comment when the county policies and practices make it difficult or are even potentially illegal? I thought the committees were just smaller working groups and were not decision-making entities. I did not realize that the county board was just a rubber stamp for the executive committee, and the executive committee was just a rubber stamp to the individual committees. When I found out that the pieces of the levy were already getting spent in committees' proposed budgets before the whole levy was approved, I actually attempted to speak at the November executive committee meeting. Over 7 hours prior to that meeting time, I clicked on how to speak at a county board or committee meeting, which directed me to a registration form that said, must be received 24 hours prior to meeting time. That was the only option given for speaking at a meeting. I still submitted my request, but instructions on how to participate were withheld by the county. Another barrier for public comment was that the budget message where the proposed levy was first announced was not attached to any of the board or committee meeting agendas. The budget message was only read out loud at the September board meeting with no visual presentation to the public. In the live stream, it was apparent that members of the board were just following along a paper packet in front of them. I only found the budget message after doing substantial research because of how the county handled the public truth and taxation hearing. So how can the public make informed comments on agenda items or in hearings when no information is attached to the agendas? I would like to respectfully request that the county make it a priority to change policies and procedures to be more friendly to the public. Allowing online registration up to 15 minutes prior to meetings and up to 5 minutes in person would be a big step towards achieving that goal. I also would like to suggest that the agendas have attachments linked for all presentations made by the county administrator, whether it be for action or information, especially when it directly affects the public with something as important as a levy increase. Thank you for your time and consideration.
The next speaker will be Julia Fosdick.
I have 3 minutes, so I have 3 reasons to deny a permit. First of all, there is no sequestration without a pipeline. They're tied together. And so my first reason is pipelines are dangerous. They connect right to the top of a well. One can do the best possible to prevent ruptures and try to engineer it the best possible, but things happen, and the science and technology for building these is not well developed. You can debate the level of risk, but the risk itself is mass casualty events. The second reason is sequestration. The purpose is to store CO2 permanently, but it is not an inert substance, and it's not being put into a static or unchanging environment. The whole world only has about a dozen years of very limited experience with this process. We don't know what will happen. The federal government is pushing very hard to fill the entire pore space that's suitable within the Mount Simon in Illinois here, and we don't know what will happen to it. My third reason is climate change. I can't find studies that show that this process will actually reduce CO2 levels in the atmosphere. I have found studies that say it will increase it, along with consuming additional energy resources and consuming additional water resources. So if there is no benefit, why take the risk? Thank you.
Susan Adams.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak with you tonight. The criteria of the ZBA requires any special use permit not jeopardize the health, safety, livelihood, property rights of county members. Based on current data, CO2 sequestration still poses health and safety issues, and we don't know what the impact will be on property rights yet. CO2 sequestration on the industrial level started in the U.S. on November 26, 2011 at ADM in Decatur, and the first well that they had was then closed at 2014 when it was filled. The second CO2 sequestration well started injection in April of 2017 and is still operating. This is a fairly new process that we don't have much history on. There are currently only 2 Class 6 permits in the U.S., both in Decatur with ADM. Each year, ADM files a mandatory greenhouse gas report. In 2022, ADM filed a report with the EPA as required for the year of January 1 to December 31st of 2021. This report shows, and I quote from the report, ADM detected a visual surface leakage of CO2 from components associated with the Illinois Industrial Carbon Capture Sequestration Project in the previous calendar year. It was detected on verification well number 2 on November 28, 2021. It is estimated that 12.6 metric ton of CO2 vented during the event. My comment to that is leaks do happen. We are still learning how CO2 moves when it is in the Mount Simon Formation. As a result, a Decatur couple that owns property is suing ADM for injecting CO2 below their land that they never gave consent for ADM to use as pore space. We do know CO2 is buoyant when injected underground and can move horizontally and vertically. I also ask you to consider that if CO2 sequestration is safe, why is our insurance company not willing to confirm in writing that they will continue to provide us with insurance? And we have made this request several times. We are still learning about new processes and collecting data. Moving too quickly with any CO2 project is not in anyone's best interest. Thank you.
Margaret Keelan.
My comments on the zoning board amendment on section 350-43 use standards. Standard number 2, setbacks. A 1,500-foot setback from a CO2 sequestration well might be a safe distance, but a 1,500-foot setback from a CO2 pipeline would be devastatingly inadequate should a leak or explosion occur. CO2 sequestration wells must be connected to CO2 pipelines to function. In 2020, a CO2 pipeline located over 2,640 feet from Satarsha, Mississippi, exploded, engulfing the town in a cloud of toxic CO2 gas, causing many residents to pass out from lack of oxygen. It led to mass evacuation and put dozens of residents in the hospital, leaving some with long-term respiratory ailments. Emergency crews could not respond rapidly because they didn't have enough oxygen tanks. Emergency vehicles failed because they require oxygen to function. That all happened 2,640 feet from the pipeline break. 1,500 feet is not anywhere near sufficient to ensure the health and safety of the public. Much more thought and research needs to be done to determine truly safe setbacks from these wells and pipelines. Standard number 4, emergency response plan. This plan is vital to the health and safety of people in the entire area defined by the applicant or owner as being possibly in harm's way should a leak or explosion occur. It's imperative that the plan addresses who will provide and pay for ongoing training and for safety equipment and special vehicles over the life of the project. Local responding agencies do not have the expertise or the budgets to cover this type of plan. It needs to be made clear in this standard that the public should not be expected to pay the bill for these expenses incurred on behalf of a private for-profit business. Other terms to consider: who's responsible for cleanup and reparations after CO2 leaks and explosions? Who has financial and legal responsibility for providing clean drinking water to McLean County residents until a new viable drinking water source
is identified should their water source become contaminated by well or pipeline dysfunction? Who has financial and legal ability for harm caused to farmland, lowering its productivity and resale value? At present, only the EPA regulates this industry, and it only speaks to the impact it has on drinking water sources. The Federal Pipeline Hazardous Materials and Safety Administration and the Illinois State Legislature are both in the process of creating laws pertaining to this new industry. The McLean County Board needs to table its CO2 zoning standards and follow the other Central Illinois County boards in placing a moratorium on issuing permits to CO2 sequestration drilling operations, to gain needed time to research the emerging CO2 sequestration industry that is targeting McLean County as a site for development, and to investigate its impact on the public's health, safety, and welfare in order to implement an ordinance that imposes appropriate regulations and standards for any CO2 sequestration facility in our county. Thanks for listening.
Brent Lang.
As a citizen living within the proposed CO2 plume and a farmer who farms land adjacent to the proposed wells and pipeline, I'm requesting that the county board deny the special use permit for One Earth sequestration. Many citizens testified and expressed their concerns during testimony about living within the CO2 project. Their only solace for hope was to be told by scientists that it will be safe, and by One Earth that they will make sure nothing happens, but if need be, they will make it right. There is no prerequisite of knowledge or evidence for pumping these volumes of CO2 underground for permanent storage. One Earth has stated that the CO2 will stay in place where it is injected, but then they also stated that it is buoyant and will seek to rise up once in the rock formation. They also stated in their opening testimony that they do not know exactly how much storage is down there because they do not know exactly how far and where it will go. They cannot guarantee with certainty that the CO2 will stay put forever, and they cannot guarantee it will never leak up into local wells or into watersheds that feed the Mahomet sole source aquifer. Other citizens living within this project also testified and addressed concerns about property values and their property rights in regards to pore space under their ground. Ask yourself how you would feel living above an underground CO2 plume and near to high-pressure injection wells. Would that affect your thoughts and considerations if you were to look at property within a project like this? Zoning laws are in place to help protect property values, and the rights and safety of the citizens in allowing this special use permit would fail these people. At a minimum, there needs to be a moratorium in the county on CO2 sequestration until PHMSA guidelines are in place for CO2 pipelines and until the state legislature passes the Carbon Dioxide Transportation and Storage Act. That legislation will help protect Illinois citizens by ensuring that developers and operators are held liable for CO2 releases, as well as strengthen safety standards. I ask the board again to deny this special use permit. And I'd like to ask members of the public here tonight, if you are opposed to this project, to at this time, please stand up.
Please,
Thank you.
out of
That's
order.
all.
Thank you. The number 5, the appearances of the public has, we are finished with that. We will move to number 6, and it is my pleasure to welcome Heartland Community College to provide a short presentation to the board and our community members.
Well, good evening, everyone. I'm Joshua Crockett, a member of the Board of Trustees at Heartland Community College, and tonight we're joined by our board chair, Becky Ropp, our Associate Vice President for Academic Affairs, Jen O'Connor, and of course our outstanding president, Dr. Keith Cornell. So first, show of hands, do we have any Heartland grads on the county board? Okay, we got one. So, well, everyone will soon be getting a Heartland pin, but we have a special alum pin we'll be getting to you, Eric. So it's never too late to enroll in the spring semester. But thank you all for having us tonight. Our board meets annually for our retreat. We take that time to reflect on the successes of the college, but also set personal goals as a body of where we want to go and how we can best serve the college as we move forward together. And one of those goals we have set for ourselves as being the best ambassadors of the college we can be, engaging with community leaders and elected officials like yourself to be ensure you're aware of and informed on the amazing work happening at the college and in the lives of our students. So thank you very much for having us here at your meeting tonight. Heartland's board or board district spans from up in Pontiac through Bloomington, Normal, and McLean County down to Lincoln. We have 2 campuses in both Pontiac and Lincoln, and our district encompasses all of McLean County. So a great swath of land and potential students to take advantage of our programs. Next slide. Is that me? Do I do that? There we go. Oh. Awesome. Well, thank you. The college boasts total credit-based student enrollment of 4795 from this past fall 23 semester, as well as over 9,000 non-credit students, which includes programs such as continuing education, both programs like a truck driver certification program or personal enrichment like a fun cooking class, yoga class, as well as professional development, as well as our driver safety school. So perhaps we've had some potential students in that program. We're proud to offer 15 associate degree programs as well as 63 certificate programs. You may have heard our president or other staff say that, you know, Heartland's all about helping folks get the job, a better job, and move them into a career. And that often happens by getting folks on campus and excited about a certificate or a micro certificate. And those will stack up through stackable credentials, making achieving that associate's degree even easier. Next slide. We're proud of the variety of walks of life our students have had on campus. A number of services and wonderful programs supporting our first-gen students as well as minority students. And Becky will speak more to our Workforce Equity Initiative program ran through the state, in addition to other programs that welcome students from across our district onto campus. And we know ensuring students don't face financial burdens and making sure our programs are as accessible as possible is so important. So ensuring 72% of our students, whether through scholarships, tuition waivers, or state or federal aid, it's available to them to ensure that they can be successful in their academic studies. Next slide. Our small student to teacher ratio ensures our students have that one-on-one attention they need to meet the goals they have set for themselves. And I'm a proud Heartland alum myself, and I know there are few people who have poured into me more than the outstanding faculty who bring their lived experiences, their outstanding education into the classroom to pour into their own students. And they breathe such a breath of life onto our campus. Next slide. Heartland is so proud to ensure that a dollar spent on Heartland is a dollar well spent. And so the college adds an estimated $27 million to the district, whether that's through ensuring the community has a skilled workforce, adding new jobs to the district. We take pride in making sure we're stretching a taxpayer and tuition dollar to the best of our ability. Next slide. And on that point, our funding primarily comes from an even split in both local property taxes and tuition, with additional support stemming from our state and federal governments, grants, and other forms of revenue. But I know we had many of you over to our new agriculture complex not all that long ago. And if you've driven by campus, you have seen the new construction and exciting things happening on campus in the both agriculture, advanced manufacturing, and our electric vehicle and energy storage programs. Well, all of that is being done within the current financial limitations of the college. The board has not proposed a tax increase, which is something we're very proud of, and we're doing all of this exciting work within our current limitations and being responsible stewards of our tax and tuition dollars. Next slide. And on the point of financial aid, ensuring we have that flexible scholarship money to meet the tuition and fee needs of our students, but also those individualized personal situations that come up. So whether that is an emergency fund or whatever, supporting students so that once they're enrolled, they can stay enrolled and complete and go on to fulfill their dreams. So we're grateful to every donor and the community who believes in the work of the college and who financially contributes to ensure that our students are successful. Next slide. And I am included in this statistic of 90% of Heartland students remaining in district to work and live and start the next chapter of their lives. So the folks, your nurses, our teachers, our truck drivers, so many of them here in our community have been trained at Heartland at our public community college. So once again, the investment in Heartland is an investment in our community. Next slide. And lastly, I'll add that while we're, of course, talking so much about our short-term programs and advanced manufacturing, for those students who do want to pursue that four-year education, as I did, having that relationship with our four-year partners is so important. Keith remembers when I was a student, I was applying to all sorts of out-of-state schools, and then I realized how easy it was to go to ISU. And I took that as a sign and as a calling to stay here and be a part of this wonderful community. So thank you again for having us, and I'll turn it over to our chair, Becky Ropp.
Thank you, Joshua, and thank you so much for this opportunity to share with you the exciting things that are happening at Heartland Community College. And a few of you, as we were making introductions, I said we're going to shout all the things, and then I realized we only have 10 minutes, so I'll tone it down. But absolutely very excited about all the programming that we have, and I'm going to share a little bit about that. So if we could go to the next slide, please. So I'm going to talk about the various programs that we have really built up over the last few years. When our current president came in, Dr. Keith Corneal, he really helped us get the wheels under career and technical education in so many facets: industrial programs, business programs, computer programs. 85% of the CTE program grads are employed within 2 years of completion. And as we said before, as Joshua mentioned, 90% of those stay in our community. So it's so wonderful to see people reaching for, achieving their dreams, and getting a good job, a better job, and a career. So next slide, please. So a number of our programs are what we categorize as work-ready programs, short-term programs that prepare students to move quickly into a full-time employment perspective in careers that offer sustainable wages and benefits. If we could move on, please. Expanded work-ready programs. We have 37 new degree and certificate programs developed since 2019. That is a really short amount of time for the educational wheels, for public educational wheels, to be moving quickly. And Heartland has been doing it. Heartland has been working heavily on making sure we are meeting the needs of students and business and industry in this community. Next slide, please. Thank you. So the work-ready programs have included medical assistants, pharmacy technicians, phlebotomy technicians, veterinary assistants, office assistants, truck driver training in particular. And I pulled some information that we just talked about in our board meeting this past Tuesday that are enrollments, just to give you an idea of how these programs are growing over the past few years. So in 2019, as I had mentioned before, how many work-ready programs we've had since then. In 2019, we had 35 enrolled in our truck driver training program. And since then, in 2023, we had 96. So truck driver training is such a needed occupation in the world today. And just from Heartland students, we've had some fantastic partnerships with local business and industry to help us train up students and citizens of this area in those needed areas like truck driver training. Next slide, please. So adult education, this is one of the things, there are lots of things that we get to do to highlight our students, but graduation is one of those times that I can't be more proud of the students that we have. And our adult education programs really help people get off on their dreams, whether it's their high school equivalency, English as a second language, academic and English programs to learn and to grow and to come into this community. We also have McLean County Jail programs 4 days a week, 2 each for male and female students to come and learn and grow and give back to the community. Next slide, please. So continuing education, whether you've had to partake in traffic safety school, we look at traffic safety school as an opportunity to get the public on campus, whether it's the person themselves, their students that are in their household, whomever it might be. We see it as an opportunity to really get them on campus, get them some familiarity with our buildings and our people and our staff to be able to come back and be full-time students at Heartland. Next slide, thank you. And just this summer, you should have seen the announcement come out on July of 2023. We opened a 4,500 square foot facility in the Mid-Central Community Action on Washington Street here in Bloomington for work-ready program instruction. One of the things that we, Joshua talked about a number of our goals that came through from our retreats that we've had. And one of those goals was to make sure that we get out into the community, into some of the areas that don't readily come to us, that think that they haven't dreamed of going to college, and we want to come to them. We want to make sure that they know that it's a possibility. Next slide, please. So program highlights. I just want to talk about a few of the programs that we have really made some initiatives into. Health science is one of those. And I'd welcome any of you to come to one of our graduations, whether it's the individual health sciences areas, nursing, physical therapy, some of those. It's so amazing to see the personal interactions between the students and their professors. And it's no wonder that Heartland students have a over 97% pass rate in their board exams because of the personalized experience they have with their professors, and they want to make them proud and make themselves proud in the meantime. Next slide, please. The next program I want to talk about, of course, in this community, electronic vehicle technology. We have worked very, very hard to support and be ready for electronic vehicle technology in this community. Heartland's electronic vehicle program leads an Associate of Applied Science in electronic vehicle technology. We are actually helping some other community college and transfer of knowledges and other community colleges and transfer of knowledge so we can get more of that understanding and more of that education across the state of Illinois. And Heartland is one of 2 mentoring training academies in the state of Illinois that we are very proud to stand up and have as an opportunity for training up students and community members in electronic vehicle technology. Next slide, please. And of course, and I'm a little bit partial, if anybody knows me, I have a background in agriculture, and I am so excited, is probably an understatement, to have an agricultural program at Heartland Community College. We have some wonderful agricultural educational programming in central Illinois, but Heartland has really taken a look at what are the different needs in this area. This area is so rich in heritage as well as opportunity in agriculture, and we have specifically created a number of degree and certificate programs in agriculture to fill those needs. And as you notice from the statistics on the side, in the U.S., agricultural-related jobs, there were over 4,500 jobs posted in agriculture in the last year, and only 2,900 applications to those jobs. So we need people in agriculture, and we can train them up in agriculture, and there's jobs out there for them. And McLean County is one of the leading states in agriculture in the state of Illinois. Next slide, please. And Workforce Equity Initiative. In fact, just tonight, there is a graduation of our Workforce Equity Initiative. We had to kind of split up our board support to the students out there as well as giving the presentation here. And we're so very proud of this program and the students that come through to really attain certification for high demand jobs. And we remove barriers for them to improve the equity of our community and really help bring that learning to them locally. Next slide, please. So that with all that, I was close to the 10-minute mark, not quite, but we would take any questions that you might have. But thank you so much for the opportunity to spill all of that excitement and wealth of knowledge about what's happening at Heartland Community College, and we can't wait to see you at the college anytime, any day.
Thank you so very much. We also appreciated the opportunity to have interaction with you and the team prior to the meeting. So thank you so very much.
Our pleasure.
I think we will continue with our number 7, and that's consent agenda. May I have a motion to accept the consent agenda? I have a motion by Beverly Bell and a second by Member Abraham and Member Klein.
Thank you, Madam Chairperson. I'd like to pull item 7C, 1C for consideration.
And 7C, 1C, that would go under land use then, is that correct?
If you wanted to, I thought it would go under exec, but that's fine.
We put that under exec or land use?
Madam Chair, I believe that would be land use.
Okay.
All right.
Very good. Anything else being pulled from consent?
Was it 7C,
7C, 1C will go to land use. And all in favor of the consent agenda, say aye. Aye. Opposed? That motion passes. We will move to number 8, and that is standing committees. And we have Vice Chair Elizabeth Johnson, and that would be 8A, Executive Committee.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Executive Committee has no items for action, and our general report can be found in the unapproved minutes on page 25 through 30. Thank you.
8B is Finance Committee, and that's Chairman William Friedrich.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Finance Committee brings 2 action items. Item 8B1A, and that's a request approval of an intergovernmental agreement between the City of Bloomington Board of Election Commissioners and the County of McLean for use of Unit 1474 Eastland Mall for early voting for the primary election March 19, 2024, and the general election November 5th, 2024, as a voting center. And I so move on that.
May I have a second? Have a second by Member Bloomfield. Any discussion? Questions? Seeing none, all in favor of the request of the intergovernmental agreement between Bloomington and between the City of Bloomington Board of Election Commissioners and the County of McLean for the early voting at Eastland Mall for the primary election on March 19th, 2024, and the general election of November 5th, 2024, say aye. Aye. Opposed? That motion passes. The floor is yours again, Chairman Friedrich.
Second item is item 8B, 1B, request approval of an ordinance by the McLean County Board amending Chapter 205, Fees of the McLean County Code, Affordable Housing, and I so move.
I need a second. A second by Member Roseman. Any discussion? Member Klein.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I'd like to, I don't want to truncate conversation if people have things to comment on, but I will be making a motion to table this item until our January board meeting, which I believe Administrator Taylor is January the 11th. Is that correct? I would like to give the tax assessor's office a bit of time to consider the possibility of a tiered system for fees. So not a flat rate, but that smaller developers might have a lesser burden of the fee. So I'd like to give him an opportunity to work that out.
So this is to table 8B1B, and that would be the affordable housing,
Table it to a date certain.
and to a date certain being January 11th. And do we have a second on that? We have a second by Member Abraham. Any discussion? All in favor of tabling that, say aye. Aye. Opposed?
No.
One opposition, and that would be Member Erickson. Motion passes, and the floor is yours again, Chairman Friedrich.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We have nothing else to report for information, and our general report can be found in the unimproved minutes. Thank you.
We will move to 8C, the Health Committee, Chairman Schaefer.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. The Health Committee has no items for action today, and our general report can be found on pages 17 through 19 of the packet.
Thank you. 8D, Justice Committee, Chairman Erickson.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. The Justice Committee brings 4 items for action. The first item is item 8D1A, request approval of an intergovernmental agreement between the County of McLean and the Town of Normal for booking services, and I so move.
I need a second. We have a second by Member Tompkins. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of the request approval for the intergovernmental agreement between McLean County and the Town of Normal for booking services, say aye. Opposed? That motion passes. The floor is yours again, Chairman Erickson.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. The Justice Committee brings the next item for action, item 8D1B, request approval of an intergovernmental agreement between the County of McLean and Illinois State University for booking services, and I so move.
A second, please. We need a second by Member Bell. Any discussion? We do have Vice Chair Johnston.
As well as myself and Member Klein would like to abstain.
So we have 2 abstaining from the intergovernmental agreement between McLean County and the Illinois State University for booking services. That would be Member Klein and our Vice Chair Johnston. Any other discussion or questions? Seeing none, all in favor of the request for the intergovernmental agreement between McLean County and Illinois State University, say aye. Aye. Opposed? That motion passes. The floor is yours again, Chairman Erickson.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. The Justice Committee brings item 8D1C, request approval of an intergovernmental agreement by and between the County of McLean, the McLean County Sheriff, and the Bloomington Normal Airport Authority, and I so move.
Second by Member Tompkins. Any questions, discussion? All in favor of the request of intergovernmental agreement between McLean County, the Sheriff, and the Bloomington Normal Airport Authority, say aye. Aye. Opposed? That motion passes. And the floor is yours again, Mr. Chair Erickson.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. The Justice Committee brings one last item for action. Item 8D1D, request approval of an ordinance by the McLean County Board amending Chapter 205 fees. Article VI, use of county morgue in the McLean County Code, and I so move.
I need a second. We have a second by Member Schaefer. Any questions or discussion? All in favor of the ordinance for the McLean County Board amending the 205 fee, Chapter 205 fees for the morgue, say aye. Aye. Opposed? That motion passes. And the floor is yours again,
Madam Chairman, the Justice Committee has no other items for action. Our general report can be found in the unapproved minutes. Thank you.
8E, Property Committee, Chair Val Lehman.
Thank you very much, Madam Chairman. The Property Committee would like to bring item E1A before the committee with a request approval of an ordinance of the McLean County Board amending Chapter 205, Article 11, miscellaneous code fees, and Chapter 282, parks, and I so move.
I need a second. Member Rogal. Any discussion? Questions? Seeing none, all in favor of the approval for the ordinance changes amending Chapter 205 and Chapter 282 for the park, say aye. Opposed? That motion passes. The floor is yours again, Chair Lehman.
Thank you again, Madam Chairman. Item number 8E1B is the request approval of an amendment to amended and restated lease between the County of McLean and the Public Building Commission, and I so move.
I need a second for that. We have a second by Vice Chair Johnston. Discussion. So the vote for the approval of the amendment to amend and restated lease between McLean County and the Public Building Commission, say aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Chair Lehman.
Thank you. Item number 8E1C is the request approval of an amendment to the contract for operation and maintenance between the County of McLean and the Public Building Commission, and I so move.
And a second, please. We have a second by Member Abraham. Any question or discussion? We're going to be voting on the approval of the amendment to the contract of operation and maintenance between the county and the Public Building Commission. All in favor, say aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Chair Lehman.
Madam Chairman, my thanks continue. Item number 8E1D, request approval of the emergency appropriation ordinance amending the McLean County fiscal year 2023 combined annual appropriation and budget ordinance, and I so move.
And I need a second. We have a second by Member Byrne. Discussion. All in favor of the emergency appropriation ordinance amending the McLean County fiscal year 2023 combined annual appropriation and budget ordinance, say aye. Opposed? That motion passes. And the floor is again yours, Chair Lehman.
The Property Committee has no other items to be presented for action. We do have our general report, which can be found on pages 20 to 24 of the unapproved minutes packet, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that anyone might have. All right, thank you.
All right, we are moving to 8F, and that's Land Use and Development. Chair Klein.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. The Land Use and Development Committee brings one item, formerly 7C1C. Do I read the whole thing?
Yes, please.
Okay, a request to approve the application of One Earth Sequestration LLC in case SU 2306 on 3 parcels. It is requesting a special use for 3 carbon dioxide sequestration drilling wells in the A Agricultural District on the following parcel numbers at the following locations. Parcel number 2502-200-007 in Cheney Grove Township, immediately south of 1400 North Road, approximately 1/4 mile west of 4100 East Road. Parcel number 18-36-100-005 in Anchor Township, immediately south of 1500 North Road, and approximately 1800 feet east of 4100 East Road. And parcel number 18-23-400-001 in Anchor Township, immediately northwest of the intersection of 1600 North Road and 4100 East Road. And I so move.
We'll shorten that when we vote.
Okay.
And I need a second for that. Member Byrne. We have a second from Member Byrne. Discussion or Member Wendt. Would you please use your microphone? Please.
I stopped off. When we get ready to vote on this, I'll require a roll call vote.
All right, we will have roll call. And Member Friedrich.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to abstain from the vote due to conflict of interest. Thank you.
And Member Friedrich will be abstaining. All right, and we will now move to Chair Klein.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I was asked to put together a little bit of information about how we got here, and I hope I can provide that clearly, but I'm happy to answer questions. As many of you know, as the chairperson of the Land Use and Development Committee, I have led the effort by our county, assisted by Chairperson Metzger, Member Abel, Assistant State's Attorney Trevor Sierra, Assistant County Administrator Tony Grant, County Administrator Cassie Taylor, and the Director of Building and Zoning Phil Dick, to study the issue of carbon capture and sequestration and to ready the county administratively for CO2 projects. In the spring, the Zoning Board of Appeals, which I will henceforth refer to as the ZBA, and a county board approved a text amendment that our work group suggested to Section 350-43 of the zoning code to require any individual or company wishing to drill a CO2 sequestration well to obtain a special use permit from the county and a Class 6 well permit from the federal EPA. This evening, the consent agenda included a further edit to this section in the code, adding required safety setbacks, safety planning and funding, and road use agreements, among other things. At the same time that the hearings for this text amendment began with the ZBA, the county received an application by One Earth Sequestration LLC for 3 wells located in eastern McLean County, just outside of Saybrook. These wells are intended to sequester carbon that is a byproduct of ethanol production at One Earth's plant in Gibson City. The proposed wells are located approximately 7 miles from the plant and require separate approval for that short pipeline through the Illinois Commerce Commission. During the hearing process, various aspects of the project were interrogated by the ZBA members and members of the public. The ZBA is tasked with assessing applications using 7 criteria. These can be found in the Zoning Code, Chapter 350-56. The first of which is that the proposed use, quote, not be detrimental to or endanger the health, safety, morals, comfort, or welfare of the public, end quote. I disagree with the ZBA's assessment that this standard was met by One Earth Sequestration in their permit application, and this is why I will be voting against the application as it currently stands. During some 10 hours of hearings, we learned that One Earth Sequestration does not yet have their EPA well permit, nor do they have the internally required approval of the emergency and remediation plan, which is targeted at protecting drinking water. And they do not have an emergency or remediation plan for the above-ground accidents in place. We were told that they were working on such a plan and reaching out to various EMA and public safety entities, but these plans were not presented to the ZBA, nor was any plan for provisioning local emergency responders with adequate training and equipment. In their verdict, the ZBA stipulated that One Earth needs to develop and fund a safety and emergency response plan before any building permits may be issued. However, this plan will not be reviewable by the county board. It will be rendered to the Director of Building and Zoning. And with all respect that Mr. Dick is owed, until I can review such a plan and understand the arrangements that One Earth has made to protect the health and safety of the public, I cannot in good conscience vote to issue a special use permit at this time. A vote to deny the special use permit today will not serve One Earth with a fatal blow to their sequestration plans. As outlined in Chapter 350-59 in our code, while the standard wait for reapplication for a special use permit after denial is 1 year, if an applicant has, quote, new evidence of proof of change of conditions, end quote, such an articulated safety plan or road agreement, the Director of Building and Zoning can waive that requirement and submit the application for review without delay. According to the testimony in front of the ZBA, One Earth does not anticipate getting their EPA permit before December 2024. So this delay, while I'm sure frustrating, is not terminal. I'm asking that we deny this application tonight and ask One Earth Sequestration LLC to return to us with all of the stipulations now active in the code met. This will allow us to make an informed decision about the project and One Earth's readiness to protect the health and safety of our constituents. Thank you.
Any other comments? All right, seeing none, we will have a roll call vote. And this will be for a yes, would approve the One Earth special use permit for 3 CO2 wells. A no vote would not provide that special use permit for CO2 wells. And I'm going to turn this over to our county clerk for a roll call vote.
Chuck Erickson,
No.
William John Friedrich, you abstain? Eric Hansen,
No.
Elizabeth Johnston,
No.
Randall Knapp, Val Lehman,
No.
Adam Reeves, Jim Rogal,
No.
Natalie Roseman Mendoza,
No.
Susan Schaefer,
No.
James Soldner,
No.
Jeff Tompkins, George Wendt, Crystal Abel,
No.
Jack Abraham,
No.
Corey Byrne,
No.
Beverly Bell,
No.
Lindsay Bloomfield, Leah Klein,
No.
Chair Metzger, you vote?
Chair Metzger will vote no.
Okay. 19.
19 noes, 1 abstain. The motion fails. And we will move to the general report for Member Klein.
So the Land Use and Development.
Chair Klein, I'm sorry.
The Land Use and Development Committee does not have any other items for action this evening, and we don't have any minutes in the general report because we just did stand up, but I'll answer questions, obviously, if anyone has them.
All right. 8G, and that would be Transportation Committee, and that would be for Chairman Rogal.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The Transportation Committee has no items to be presented tonight for action. Our general report can be found on pages 2 through 4 of the unapproved minutes, and I can answer any questions.
8H, and that would be our County Administrator, Ms. Taylor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have no items to present to the board this evening.
We have, now we'll move to 9, and that would be appearances of the members of the public and county employees in reference to an item that's not on the agenda. And I have 2 individuals. I have a Joel Aper. Joel Aper. Doesn't appear Mr. Aper is here, so Amanda Beach. Ms. Beach, are you here? All right. That would move us to number 10, and that would be other business and communication. Do we have any other business and communication? All right, I just would, my communication would be that I would like to thank this board and all of our elected officials for their tireless effort to serve McLean County in the past year. It is also important to thank our county employees for their daily work that they perform to keep our county running smoothly, efficiently, and safely. Lastly, for those who recognize and celebrate, I want to personally wish a joyful Advent, a wonderful Christmas, a blessed Hanukkah, which is our Jewish celebration of lights that ends tomorrow, and an amazing Kwanzaa, and a marvelous new year. I look forward to 2024 with great anticipation and enormous hope. With that, the meeting is adjourned.